We come from Prussia, that's in East Germany. We thought we were the only Mennonites, and from there they went to Russia, to America, Canada, South America. They were spread all over and developed in their own way. And that's how they split up in so many groups, and yet with Mennonite Central Committee, they all come together for doing good work in the world. That's where they are good. The other interesting thing is they're highly religious, but economics high as well. Money making is very important, and then using it for good in the world. That's where the Mennonite Central Committee comes in, and also MEDA, Mennonite Ecumenic Development. They are big in the world. I was 10 years old when I went on this trip with my mother. This was in January of 1945. And my mother had only my brother Hartmut and myself on this trek. The other four were sent by train to the west, where they was caught in East Germany, and my mother didn't see her four little kids for 2 years. I don't remember any hard things except the first night. We only made 9 kilometers to people that my mother knew. We slept in a barn on straw, and we didn't take our shoes off, so the next morning my feet were so tired that I learned something about that. But other than that, it was for us, it was an adventure, although the thought that there were bombs flying and that we could be caught by the Russians was depressing, but as kids, we did not suffer like my mother suffered.
And your mother and your family were told they had to evacuate.
First of all, they were told, don't you dare show that we are going to lose this here. You are staying here. They were not allowed to prepare to leave. And at night, one night on the 22nd of January or 21st, the word came out, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock you have to be gone. And of course, they had all finished their wagons hidden in the barns anyway. But that's how difficult it was.
And they were told they had to leave by the German authorities?
Yes, by German authorities.
Because the Russian forces
were coming. Yes, yes. So they were prohibited to make any attempt to leave because we're going to win this. And then when it came, it was overnight that they had to be.
And the weather and the winter, it sounded like it was so
And that was the
harsh.
most terrible thing for my mother and for her horses. It was terrible. It was terrible. My mother left with 6 horses and 3 wagons and arrived in West Germany with 4 horses and 2 wagons. And she was one of the few people that made it with horses all the way to the west. Most of them were overrun, and some went by sea over to the other side.
Your mother was she was quite a young woman.
31 years old, and she knew one thing: I don't want to fall under the Russians and be raped. My father was drafted into the army. So he was in Breslau, in the Festung, we had Breslau, and he became a prisoner of war and was 3 years in Kiev, in Russia.
So he was captured by the Russians?
Yeah, he was caught by the Russians. He had the 6 years of war and 3 years of prisoner of war in Russia, in Kiev, and survived. My father was a Mennonite preacher, and he had an assignment after the war to come to United States and Canada and talk about the refugee situation in Germany. Oh, we had fled from Danzig, from here to the west. We lived in West Germany at that time. That was in 1950. My father traveled in America, and he came to Niagara, and he decided if we ever emigrate, we want to go to Niagara. And now here's what happened. When he came back, all my father's family decided to go to Uruguay. They were promised land there, and they wanted to be farmers again, so all my father's family went to Uruguay. Father was here in 50 and 51, they all went to Uruguay. I was 16 years old, and I begged my parents that I wanted to go along. All my cousins were going there, and he said no. And my father said his reasoning was, where we lived in East Prussia, which is called West Preußen, Danzig, Canada is a climate much like that. If anything, we go to Canada. And when you see in this thing here how many Prussian Mennonites went here, this was very easy for my parents because there were several families from our own area that went here to Niagara, so we could come here. So my brother and I came here without parents in March of 1952. We were gang-ho what we were going to do in Canada, make money and what have you. So anyway, it was clear where we would belong in Canada, and my father had met an Isaacs family that's now Pelletieri Winery, and they took the both of us in for the first week. Then Hartmut was assigned to P.J. Enns, and I was to Martin Wiens, who was Mennonite Brethren. So my first few months I was in a Brethren church that helped me a lot later on in all kinds of work that I did for the church. But then we were both in Niagara United Mennonite Church right from the beginning. That's where we belonged. At any rate, in 1956, my father with 3 siblings, one of my brothers had come in the meantime, we were 3 in Canada. My father's family came in 56 with my 2 sisters and youngest brother. Dorothea was born so much later here in Canada. He drove a new Volkswagen onto the boat in Bremerhaven. He drove the new Volkswagen off in New York. Hartmut and I met them in New York, here from Canada. They drove into a driveway where we had built a brand new house for our parents. Okay, imagine, we bought the lot that we built the house on for the parents from Martin Wiens, who was the farmer, in 52 for $500. And then we first built the garage where we lived and then built the house. And in 56, a year before I got married, I bought the 27 acres on which I live today, still live on today. When you drive on Stone Road and see 60 Kinds Jam, that is our farm, comes right onto Stone Road and runs along Concession 7. Okay, and this is another thing. The farm had 2 acres of peaches, and I started picking the peaches and went to the co-op to sell my peaches, and oh, these are no good, and this is no good. I thought, this is not for me. I raised the peaches, and I loved pigs. I had 3 pigs when I was a little boy to feed the family, and I wanted to be a pig farmer, and I started into pigs right away. When on the 27 acres, I first bought built a little area for pigs and grew up. I went from 5 pigs that I bought to 5,000 pigs.
That's huge.
And that's huge. And the best day of my life was when in 2004 I sold the last pig.